Assemblymember, you have item 8, ACA 5, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and committee members. It's always the right time for love. This is a constitutional amendment to enshrine marriage and love in our state constitution, and I respectfully ask for your vote.
Great. Any witnesses here, main witnesses to speak in support, please come on up.
Good evening, Chair and members. Craig Pulser on behalf of Equality California, proud co-sponsor. We are no doubt fortunate that marriage equality is currently the law of the land, thanks to several previous decisions by the U.S. Supreme Court. However, as you all know well, it's become increasingly clear that the far-right majority of the current court cannot be trusted to uphold their own precedent or protect our civil rights. Last year, the court overturned 50 years of precedent affirming the constitutional right to an abortion. And just last week, the court decided to once again ignore years of precedent and allow certain businesses to discriminate against LGBTQ people. ACA 5 is an important and necessary safeguard in case the court were to once again ignore years of precedent and roll back protections for same-sex or interracial couples to marry. The measure will put a constitutional amendment before voters to repeal Proposition 8, erasing a dark part of California history, and protect once and for all the fundamental freedom to marry. As was stated so eloquently by one of our board members in a previous committee, love knows no boundaries, no gender, and no race. Love is the most profound and sacred emotion that two people can share. It's a force that unites us and transcends societal expectations and prejudice. And yet, despite the strides we've made towards equality, the shackles of discrimination still persist in our state constitution. This measure comes at a time when the LGBT community is under attack across the country and even here in California, with over 500 anti-LGBTQ bills introduced this year alone, the majority of which target trans young people. ACA 5 will certainly not end all discrimination against LGBTQ people, nor will it stop these hateful attacks by anti-LGBTQ politicians and extremists. However, it is an important opportunity to reaffirm the freedom to marry as a fundamental right and protect same-sex and interracial couples who deserve to have their marriages respected under the law. We are extremely grateful to Assemblymember Lowe and Senator Wiener for bringing this measure forward and respectfully urge your aye vote.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else here in the hearing room like to speak out in support?
Becca Kramer-Mauder on behalf of ACLU California Action, proud co-sponsors in support.
Thank you.
Dora Rose, League of Women Voters of California, in very strong support.
Thank you.
Karen Stout on behalf of the California Nurse Midwives Association as well as NARA Pro-Choice California in strong support.
Thank you.
Good evening, Genesis Gonzalez on behalf of Lieutenant Governor Lenny Kounalakis as a proud co-sponsor in support.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to the opposition side of the aisle here. Anyone in opposition to this measure, please come on forward.
Chair and members, my name is Greg Burt. I work for the California Family Council. This is one of the main organizations that was a proponent of Proposition 8. At its core, ACA 5 is about changing the definitions of one of the most foundational institutions of human society. Some would argue we need to redefine marriage in a way that doesn't discriminate against anyone or leave anyone out. Yet this is not possible. Anytime you define a word like marriage, there are going to be relationships that align with the definition and those that don't. Even though ACA 5's expanded definition includes same-sex couples, it still discriminates against polygamists, minors, and those interested in group marriage, just to name a few. We believe that the definition of marriage, as spelled out in our state constitution, should remain a covenant between one man and one woman because of the vital role marriage plays in civilization. Even though death, divorce, or other circumstances may prevent the ideal, every child longs and deserves every opportunity to be raised by their biological mother and father in a lifelong union. Since the dawn of civilization, governments have historically acknowledged that a union between a man and a woman creates the optimal family environment for upbringing of children. Despite recent court rulings, faithful Christians remain steadfast in their commitment to God's definition of marriage, which has been a source of societal stability for thousands of years. We believe there is something uniquely beautiful, divinely inspired about the male-female relationship. Marriage is not a man-made Marriage is not a man-made invention, but a fixed feature in the natural order. Tampering with this order invites heartache and pain, and anything that compromises our family compromises our future. And for these reasons, we ask you to vote no on ACA 5.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else here in opposition to this measure? Seeing none, we'll go to the phone lines. Moderator, if you could ask anyone who would like to put their name and affiliation on the record in support or opposition to ACA 5, please do so.
Thank you. For support or opposition, you may press 1 and then 0. We will go to line 345.
Good evening, Chair and members. This is Jessica Hay with the California School Employees Association in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you. Line 324.
Good evening. This is Molly Robeson with Planned Parenthood Affiliates of California in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to line 279.
This is Isabel Story on behalf of the Santa Monica Democratic Club. We are in strong support of ACA 5.
Thank you. Line 244.
Elizabeth Robledo, San Joaquin Valley Democratic Club, Fresno, in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Line 351.
Penny Harrington from San Diego County in opposition.
Thank you. 306.
This is Dr. Forrest Peterson. I'm a resident of Palo Alto in strong support for ACA 5. Thank you.
346. Your line is open.
Jonathan Keller from California Southern Baptist Convention in opposition.
Thank you. Line 353.
Pastor Brandon Campbell from the California Capitol Connection in opposition.
Thank you. Line 349.
Karen England, Capital Resource Institute in opposition.
Thank you. Line 263.
Pat Lang, Los Altos Hills, strong support.
Thank you. Line 354.
This is Thomas King, New Testament Baptist Church in opposition.
Thank you. Line 352.
This is Dran Reese from the Salt and Light Council, strongly opposed.
Thank you. Line 355.
This is John Skoglund with the County of Los Angeles in support.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, we have no further support or opposition in queue.
Thank you, Moderator. We'll bring the issue back to the committee for comments or questions. Senator Menjivar.
Assembly member, thank you so much for working on this important legislation. Proud co-author of this. You know, I think the LGBTQ caucus has done amazing work this year, even in the face of so much hate that's going on in the nation. And, you know, to the opposition, I would ask, you know, where in red in the Bible did we get a quote from God or Jesus, that he said marriage is between a man and a woman? Nowhere in the entire Bible is it quoted in red, because that's the quotes of Jesus. Does it say that? I would say that's not factual, sir. And I wouldn't assume to say what Jesus said all those years ago. In fact, you know, studies show that children are most successful in the homes of loving parents, whether they're single parents or queer parents or raised by grandparents or raised by cousins or siblings. As long as they're in the home of a loving individual, that's where a kid is successful. I'm so happy that I have colleagues here in the dais that agree with that sentiment as well, and that we'll all be very excited to vote aye on this bill. Unless someone surprises me, but I don't think so.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Comments? Senator Lowe, thank you for your leadership in this space. Also a proud co-author. I know as many of my colleagues here are as well. And I want to give you the opportunity to close.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and colleagues. Many of you on the dais are proud co-authors of the constitutional amendment, and we thank you very much for solidarity and also commitment to love. Just very specifically, though, for purposes of public discourse, just even on the bill itself, whereas the courts have recognized that same-sex couples and interracial couples have the right to marry, this proposal before us is enshrining constitutional protections for interracial marriage as well as same-sex marriage. So if any member of the dais is in an interracial marriage, this proposal before you helps to enshrine constitutional protections for interracial marriage as well as same-sex couples. So again, factor of consideration for any members of our legislature who may be in interracial relationship. Additionally, for public record, as this bill has moved forward through the process, I know that this is oftentimes seen as a partisan issue. Members Nilo and Wilk have supported the piece of legislation as reflected in the committee analysis of unanimous support in Senate Judiciary, as well as over 8 members of the Assembly Republican caucus. And part of that was because of the continued effort to acknowledge the concern of religious protections and infringement that may occur. As we stated in the State Assembly, a letter to the Journal specifically, if I might through the chair, just read specifically that no member of the faith community or evangelical community shall perform marriage that is contrary to the tenets of a person's faith. This will remain unchanged following the approval of Assembly Constitutional Amendment 5. So in addressing the religious concerns that this was infringed upon religious protections, we clearly state the protections and the rights afforded to those in the evangelical and religious community. So when we think about then the arguments that still lie after the fact that we would help ensure the protections, the constitutional protections, this does not redefine the definition of marriage, never has. No member of the clergy have ever been forced to perform a marriage post marriage equality being made law of the land. The definition has not changed to include polygamy ever. So these are falsehoods, and it's important, again, for the public discourse to speak truth to the conversations that we have. And so, as reflected in the growing support of bipartisanship and recognizing that love is love, I'm hopeful that many members who still have reservations can find it deep in their hearts and recognizing the expansion of rights that we should be afforded in the state of California, and I respectfully ask for a vote.
Thank you, Assembly Member, and I'm glad you put those points on the record. I know this bill is just one step in the process you have ahead, and this issue of dealing with falsehoods and misrepresentations will not be too far behind as this thing moves forward. I did not know about interracial marriages as an issue here. I am in one, so it's thank you for illuminating that for me and others. All right, are we looking for a motion? Senator Menjivar, was that a motion? Certainly. We have a motion. This would be do pass. Excuse me. This is just simply adopted. It goes right. I thought. So this is be adopted and re-refer to the Committee on Appropriations. With that, the Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Glazer?
Aye.
Glazer, aye. Nguyen? Allen? Allen, aye. McGuire? McGuire, aye. Menjivar? Menjivar, aye. Newman? Newman, aye. Umberg? Umberg, aye. 6-0.
All right, that bill has 6-0, and that bill is out. Congratulations on that.